Howdy, gang, and I hope my dogs don't start barking. Um, I'm going to try not to talk very loud because I'm not back at my computer desk, as you guys can probably see. Um, I am in the living room because it's just too dang cold to be back there at my computer desk doing this. But I did want to complete the Corn on the Cobe series. I'm going to be covering the last three films that Sandy Cobe produced. Um, and the reason why I'm trying to be quiet is because I am in the living room and Steve is already in bed. So I'm going to try not to get too loud. I hope you guys and gals can hear me okay um, while I'm talking about these films. I'm also in here because I have not been feeling well, and the cold, like in that back room, is not very conducive to making me feel any better. So, um, I'm not planning on being on here a super long time. I'm going to explain each one of these movies, give my rating, and that's going to be all she wrote on as far as Corn on the Cove. Then we're going to start the Dick's Picks. Hopefully, I'll get the cannon fodder started. Um, I've got a couple of watch alongs coming up this weekend for Dog Soldiers and Cube. So be looking on the lookout for that. I also have an extra special bonus movie munchies for those of you that were excited to see the return of the movie munchies, where I did Grandma's Killer Mac and Cheese that got uploaded last night. It was kind of late. I know it was just before 12 Eastern time, so um, I had a little trouble getting it rendered, and my power director was acting up. So, but you guys and gals don't need to know all that. And this year is stocked up. So, if I, like I said, if I seem a little off my game, um, that's why. Um, the bonus movie munchies, though, will be for Twin Peaks. A damn fine cup of coffee and a piece of cherry pie. So y'all be sure to tune in for that. The reason why I wanted to do this is in honor of David Lynch, who recently passed away, and who I was huge fan of, especially the Twin Peaks series. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started with these last three movies that were produced by Sandy Cobe. One in 84 and the final two in 87. And please apologize for the birds. You can pretty much hear them no matter where I'm at in this house because they're happy little birds. So, um, Access Code. This came out in 1984. This was my least favorite of the three. I'll start that off. It was a little confusing. It was set up like a made for TV movie, but it had, um, cursing in it, a lot of person. So it definitely was not a TV movie. So, um, and it concerns, there's a government agency kind of headed up by Martin Landau. Yes, Martin Landau was in this movie. I read some reviews of it and they said, what was Martin Landau thinking? Um, but, Martin Landau did a good job in it. Any failures that this movie may have had were definitely not due to Mr. Landau. Um, so he's head of a government agency that's supposed to be protecting the country, protecting the citizens of the United States from, um, threats like nuclear warfare. And so when we start out the movie, it appears that another group um, has hacked into the agency system. They're just kind of referred to as the agency. But this rogue entity has hacked into their computer networks. And this is in the early days of computer networks, 1984. Okay. Hold on just 1 second. Okay, folks, sorry. I don't know what they're hearing at 8:10 on a week, on a Monday night. But this is the second time they've gotten started barking. So hopefully this I won't have to keep taking myself in and out of this video. So anyway, like I was saying, there is this rogue entity that has hacked into the agency's computer networks and made it appear that, um, they're going to set off a nuclear warhead that the United States has had. And this is going to, cue the Russians in on, oh, we better do something because the United States is setting off a nuclear warhead. So we better, set off one back, and then there would be nuclear war. So they managed to get it turned off. They contact this guy who used to work for them and left. And there's this whole conversation. I don't know. They don't ever really explain what all this experimentation was. It's just the character of I believe his character's name is Michael, um, just brings it up um, when he's talking to a guy from the agency. But anyway, he used to work for the agency and he left apparently because he didn't like how they were doing things around there. But this is, I don't know why the movie is so confusing. Maybe they didn't know what they wanted to do with it. Maybe they didn't know what direction they wanted to go with it. Um, but Michael ends up out in the desert because this rogue entity contacts him and tells him, there's some weapons or some microwave, like radiation activity out in, I guess, Death Valley, out in the desert. And when he leaves his computer, you see a message on there, we're just toying with you. So basically, this rogue entity has sent him out there to just get him out of the way for a while they, do whatever nastiness that they want to do. So he ends up missing after going out into the desert. They don't know what has happened to him. And his sister gets contacted to investigate this stuff. And her boyfriend, I believe, is a journalist. And so they team up and they're not only trying to find her brother, but they're also trying to figure out what's going on here. And so there are really something else that's confusing about this movie is there's really no clear cut case of who the bad guys are. Because at one point, it seems like the agency might be bad. Um, and then, of course, you've got this rogue entity that's obviously bad, but uh, the only good people, like pure good people, is Julie, Michael's sister, and the journalist, and really this guy who basically is in there for comic relief during a portion of the movie where, why would you need this right now? Because it was getting near the last quarter of the film. And the film's not that long anyway. It's about an hour and 28 minutes long. Um, so um, it was just okay. Um, but it was too mishmash for me to really get a handle on whether, did I like it? Did I not like it? Um, so I just have to accept the fact that to me it was just okay. Um, and by the way, all three of these movies are available right now on YouTube. So if you want to check them out, Access Code is not a very good copy. It appears to be a VHS rip. I'm sure that this was not uh, out on DVD. I'd be very surprised if it was in any other format except VHS. So if I am going to give this a rating, um, I'll give it three deadites out of five, because it wasn't absolutely horrible. I just could have seen where it could have been better. Okay. So that is Access Code. And so the next one is Open House, which is a movie I saw years and years ago because, of course, it's a horror movie. And you know me in horror movies, that's, um, I don't really want to say that's my forte, but that's my first love in movies, is, horror. And so, of course, Open House was one I watched on VHS way back in the day, right? This one came out in 1987. There must be a high def version of it somewhere, because that's what I found, a 720p version on YouTube. Uh, has Adrian Barbeau in it. How they got, people like Mark Landau, Adrian Barbeau, um, I I don't know, to be in these movies. Maybe they just, wanted to take a break from anything real serious or anything, so they were in these. Now, you guys and gals feel free to correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I cannot really remember a horror movie or slasher movie or whatever you want to call it that is centered around uh, real estate agents and um, people showing houses to people getting killed off in various ways to be the center of a horror and or slasher film. But this one does. And it's a little hokey at times. Um, it goes back and forth between being a horror slasher type film and being a cop drama or, or cop action film. Um, so Adrian Barbeau is the head of Grant Realty, and she is Lisa Grant. So this is her realty business, and the movie starts out with a young woman calling into a um, I don't know. It was one of those radio talk shows where you're supposed to talk to somebody about your problems, and they're supposed to help you. And at first, it makes this guy appear, and this guy turns out to be Adrian Barbeau's boyfriend. Um, I believe his name's David Kelly. I think David Kelly's his name. Sorry for being a little fuzzy on the names, but I watched 3 movies straight in a row today, and so I don't wanna get the names mixed up, but I may. So, y'all if y'all will forgive me as I'm going through these. So, David Kelly is one of those, uh, radio psychoanalysts or whatever, and so he's evidently been talking to this girl, Tracy, I believe, more than once. And Tracy has a lot of problems, not the least of um, she's been, I'm trying to take it easy with this because I don't know how YouTube will take some words and not take some words. So she's been for years taken advantage of by her father. Okay. I'm just going to leave it there. And she's basically at the end of a rope, and she eventually tells David, I think it's time for you to go to a commercial break. And we're led to believe that she shoots herself in the head and kills herself. So that's how the movie starts out. But the movie, I kept thinking, because it's been years since I've seen Open House, that I kept thinking that the killer would somehow be tied in with Tracy. But no, that storyline basically goes nowhere other than David. David, honestly, it appears that he feels bad about the situation. But when we first see David, he's talking to Tracy and he's making paper airplanes, stuff like this. And you take one look at him and you think, well, this guy's an asshole, you know. But he turns out to be, a pretty decent guy. And I like the chemistry between him and Adrian Barbeau. Adrian Barbeau's character, Lisa Grant, in the film. And for those of you that like to see a little skin on Miss Barbeau, hey, you're going to get to see it in this. Plus, you're going to get to see her in some black lingerie as well. So there you go. Um, Now, it was 87, so it's not Stevie Wayne era Adrian Barbeau, but she still looked good. So there you go. Um, so we have this person that um, this is another thing I slightly don't understand about this movie is this is not supposed to be a surprise really who the killer is. So I don't know why they couldn't show his face. It is a he. I mean that much is obvious when you're watching the film. Um, but he giggles and he kills these realtors. When they're showing houses and stuff like that. And you have another guy who is a competitive uh, real estate guy who has his own agency. And he doesn't like Adrian Barbeau because she's doing good and she's taking business away from him. But Resnick's a real sleazebag. And he's just interested in, uh, getting a little ass and stuff like and threatening Adrian Barbeau or Lisa all the time. Um, he's trashing condos and stuff like that she was sending her people out um, to show people, to show potential buyers these houses. Um, so you might think that, oh, well, it's Resnick, but that would be too obvious, wouldn't it? Those of us that have seen our fair share of horror movies and or slasher films know that the most obvious choice is usually not who the killer is. There may be rare instances where that happens, but not not for the most part. So um, you had some good kills in this. The killer is kind of silly with him laughing and stuff, and I think there's, I think he likes to eat dog food as well. So Um, just a little bit of a weird guy who basically turns out to be just some homeless guy that's bitter that they were selling off these houses and he couldn't stay in them. And, he doesn't like real rich people with a lot of money because he's homeless. And I'm not saying anything bad about homeless people. I'm just saying that's the setup they have in this movie. So some of you guys and gals might be thinking, well, geez Louise, Dana, why are you giving away who the killer is and the motive and all that? Well, because like I said before, this is not a real, like, it's not a shock. Oh my God, it's them. So um, this one was my favorite of the three. Um, and I enjoyed going back and rewatching it again. And I would, definitely recommend it. You know, it's one that you don't have to think about real hard or anything. And me being sick today, I just thought, well, I'll just sit here and I'll uh, I'll just watch these last three films and lay on the couch, and then I'll do a quick, video when I'm done watching them. Um, and I've already, I see I already talked for like 20 something minutes. Um, so as far as a rating for Open House, I'm going to give it 4 Deadites out of 5 because I think it's fun. I think it's goofy, good fun, and I think the majority of you that like these kind of low budget, uh, uh, don't have to think too hard kind of movies that you could sit down and watch on a Sunday, or if you're like me, you were homesick from work, or you're homesick from school, or whatever. Um, then you can, just while away an hour and a half or hour and 37, 38 minutes and not have to expend hardly any energy at all, right? And definitely not any brain power. So I think it deserves, for keeping me occupied, I think it deserves 4 Deadites out of 5. All right. So the last one is Terminal Entry, um, which was also one that got released in 1987 and has Yaphet Kotto on it. Paul Smith's on this. Um, and gosh, I cannot pronounce this guy's name right. Patrick, it's probably French. Labratro or what? I don't know. Sorry, I'm butchering that guy's name. But he was also in summer school. He was the football player that was in the summer school class. So, and he plays Bob in Terminal Entry. And this movie can best be described as a teen sex comedy. Oh, and Jill Teresita's in this, but Jill Teresita doesn't get naked. You're not going to see her boobs in this, guys. Sorry. Um, this must have been before she obviously takes off her top, but you don't see anything. Right? Um, so, um, like I was saying, this can best be described from my point of view as a teen sex comedy mixed with an action film. Literally, that's what it is. And I had a lot of fun with this one. Um, there is some killing in it and stuff, but for the most part, I think the balance between the action and the kids, these group of computer geeks, basically in 1987, um, who like to play and like to hack into computer games. Well, this kind of got a war games aspect. A lot of people said that Access Code was like war games without Matthew Broderick, but if I had to say one of the three was like war games, I would say this one is more like war games because these kids get into something called terminal entry, which is the title of the film. And they think that this is just a harmless computer game that they're playing online with other people, right? Online back in 87. And so they have to figure out an access code to get into terminal entry. And so they go out to, I guess this is their buddy Tom, who is really, really good at computer games and really, really good at hacking into them. He thinks it'd be good if they go to his family's. I don't know if this is a vacation, summer home, or whatever. And they go out there, and the kids kind of pair off in romantic couple territory a few times during the film. But they also um, want to pair off to play this computer game. So Bob actually is able to figure out the access code to gain entry. Tom is usually the one that can do this, but Bob hits on the right access code. They gain access, and Tom and his girlfriend are playing it first. And they inadvertently, because they think this is all a game, tell these terrorists to assassinate a Soviet peace guy and um, and also to blow up an oil refinery. And um, they don't realize what they've done until almost the end of the movie. Now, Bob and his girlfriend um, take their shift at the computer, and Bob says, I'm going to get everybody. And he inadvertently puts all of them on the terrorist hit list. And the terrorists head there to Tom's family home or summer house or whatever to kill them. And when they realize that and are able to tell the cops, then there are these other guys, Yaphet Kodo and Edward Albert, who are basically our action guys, and Paul Smith, who come to help save the kids from getting annihilated by these terrorists. But like I said, this one was my favorite, or I mean, my second favorite. Open House was my favorite. This was my second favorite, and and of course, the access code runs, a third. Sorry, folks. Sorry for anybody that liked access code. I just thought it was okay. But terminal entry, I feel pretty confident in getting terminal entry for Dead Outside of Five. I had a lot of fun with it. Like I said, it's like a teen sex comedy mixed with an action film. And with it, a little war games, minus Matthew Broderick, of course, thrown in there for good measure. Um, so that's all I've got. This is the final segment of Corn on the Cobe. I hope you guys and gals have enjoyed this a little foray into the handful of films that Sandy Cobe produced. And be on the lookout for some new stuff for the Dick's Picks, the films of Dick Randall, the films that he produced. He produced a lot more than Sandy Cobe. Um, and be sure to tune in for the first episode of Cannon Fodder. That should be coming up soon as I start watching some Golden Globus Cannon films, because we're going to focus on the Golden Globus era, folks. And we got those couple of watch-alongs coming up. Dog Soldiers on Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Cube on Sunday at 7 p.m. p.m. Eastern Time. And there's also going to be a Twin Peaks related movie munchies dropping on Sunday at some point for a damn fine cup of coffee and a piece of cherry pie. So I guess that is all from me. I'm off like a dirty shirt. This shirt ain't dirty, but I'm off like one. And I want to remind everybody, as I always do before I get off of here for the night, to be kind to one another and blaze that trail. Have a fantastic rest of your Monday, folks. And I'll see everybody next time.